Hello and welcome to episode 74 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Croft.
74.
Alongside me, we have the always visually stunning LaHarry Hunt.
Hi.
It's French for the Harry Hunt. LaHarry.
Hi. I'm getting a haircut Thursday.
And then next to him, we have Dizzy. That's already his nickname. Couper.
That's this guy. Hi, it's this guy.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm mildly uncomfortable at the moment. But I'm good.
I'm good.
I had to fight the man and lost.
You fought the law?
The law won.
They always do, man. Except when they don't. So I watched this
He's not wrong.
on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He was talking about 911 last week and about how like your Domino's app can tell you exactly where you are by your cell phone GPS, but when you call 911, they can't. And they showed like a video clip of this reporter who called 911 from the 911 office and was like, "Can you tell me where I'm at right now?" And they were like, "Yeah, we have you at," and it was like a mile and a half away from where he was. So sometimes the law doesn't win.
Yeah. I used to work in the creepiest gas station in town where I regularly had to call 911. And what I learned from that experience is never trust your life to 911. The fastest response time was 15 minutes.
And you were probably calling from the phone there.
Yes.
Which is way easier to locate because it's tied to your address.
On the 4-lane that goes through town.
Dude, I've had a few strange instances of that gas station as well. Remember that one night that me and like 5 other guys came and visited you at 2 a.m. and that one dude walked all the way from Walmart. He's like, "Hey, can I get a ride?" We're like, where are you going? He's like, "Oh man, I need to get to Charleston, which is an hour away." And we're like, "Sorry, we have a full car." He's like, "Can you just give me a ride to the post office?" The post office was the gas station's next door neighbor. It was like maybe as far away as this house. And we're like, "No, definitely not." So we got in our car and drove away.
It would take more time to get in the car than it would take to walk to the
So he was just
post
trying
office.
to pull a gun on you and get you to drive him to
Possible.
Charleston.
It's possible.
Was he a ghost? Are we sure he was real?
Maybe he's thinking about the old post office from 1867.
The one that burned down with the 15 people inside?
That's the one.
Can you put me on one of those gasoline-powered buggies you got there and take me to the post office? Which, I mean, that could be 1863, but it could also be 2006 in West Virginia. So we are the Player 3 podcast. We get together every Monday, talk about video games, and then push it out to you over on youtube.com/Player3 podcast and your podcast services of choice. iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Blueberry. Download us now on Google Music Play.
Blueberry, is that a thing?
Yep.
Music play.
Google Play Music, Google Music, whatever
Play.
you fake
Or
phone
music?
users are using.
Oh.
Just say Google Play. That's fine.
You can download it on Google Play. You can also send us some money. Larry's bank account number is, this is where you set your bank account number.
0000116. I'm going to stop there. But
Is
this is a 2 or 3 bank accounts ago, so I feel safe. But just in case it's somebody else's bank account.
Wait,
now.
you're saying you know it?
Yeah, I memorized my bank account. Do you not do that?
No.
No.
No, I feel
Should
like
we?
if I memorized my bank card number, I would spend a lot more money online. Because most of the time I'm like, man, I really want to buy this thing, but I don't want to lift up my left butt cheek and take my wallet out. Does anyone else keep their wallet on their left butt cheek?
Nope. Right.
Right? Are you a right man?
I don't believe in butt cheek wallets. Mine is on my right
I
thigh.
don't believe in butt cheeks.
They are a myth perpetuated by our culture. It's just a pure social construct.
All right, let's get this show started like we get every show started with the releases of the week. Releases of the week. Crap. No. No.
No.
You know what to do. Oh, gosh. All right. Releasing on both consoles this week, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan.
Isn't it like a cell-shaded kind of game?
Yeah.
Looks interesting.
So is it based off the movie or is it its own thing?
I don't know. Great question. And all Overwatch is released.
Welcome to Play With Me Podcast, your source for gaming information.
Hey guys, I write about video games. I host a podcast. I work at a GameStop. What's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles about? It's about
Turtles.
It's about these young lads that get kidnapped by a rat and raised to fight crime against their will. They're a lot faster than what you would assume a turtle could do. It's very ironic.
You said young lads, so does the rat convince them that they're turtles, or does he turn them into turtles?
It was the toxic goo that transformed them. It's actually a horrible mutation.
Or is species just a social? Sorry, I'll stop.
Were they bitten by radioactive turtles? I'm crossing universes here.
Did you know that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is actually it originated as like a spoof of Daredevil? The toxic
So they're
stuff
all
gave them their
blind.
powers. Splinter is a spoof on Stick. And there's something else, but I'm blanking on it right now. So
Interesting. And it's a proven fact, if you stack 4 turtles on top of one another, you get one blind man.
in Daredevil, he fights a group of ninja called the Hand. And the Ninja Turtles fight the Foot.
Okay, you sold me on that one.
All right.
I knew you weren't convinced. I had to get it there.
Sold me on that one.
The big release this week, though, Overwatch, boys and girls. I got my Overwatch T-shirt on here.
Me too.
Not near. We'll superimpose a logo there. Also, this segment brought to you by Comicast Ingenuitive. We don't have the logo this week. So Overwatch is coming out. Mm-hmm. You guys excited about that?
I'm gonna start playing at 7, and I don't know when I'll stop, but it's not gonna be reasonable.
Gosh. And then tomorrow, what time are we supposed to meet?
11.
And so I need to just push that back to around 1:30, right?
I can get rolling by 11.
All right. It's releasing today, actually, which is pretty cool. Server's unlocking at 7. So if you bought it digitally, you'll be able to play then. But some retailers are selling it physically today. You can pick yours up today,
to do that,
sir, my good sir. But I'm excited about it. We're going to talk a little more Overwatch here in a little bit, so we'll save the conversation. But those are. What's up? What's going on?
I'm just trying to think. Like I'm going to get Overwatch, and I'm very excited about it. But I really just kind of stick with one character, so I hope I get like the full effect. Cause I'll just keep playing Torbjorn the whole time, probably. That's me.
I was hoping you'd be like, so do you have to sew the turtles together to get one human being, or just setting them on top of one another? They morph into one, like a Megazord. And then you put people together, and they make legitimate Megazords. Those are your releases of the week. Releases of the week. Crap. All right.
All right.
Next segment. We have topics for you. This show is on fire this week. We're feeling good. All right.
If
Larry.
we were a Pokemon, we'd be Litten.
Oh, it's the next
See,
Pokemons.
when the kids are excited about something, they say that it's lit.
Interesting. I'm learning so much about culture right now. Lit, turtle blind people.
It is now
kinds of
socially
stuff.
acceptable to wear a shirt as pants. You should do that to work today. It'll be cool.
Hello. No underwear, right?
Right.
That's good. That's good. I don't want to have to go buy underwear.
I just use the
That's
same
actually
pair
pretty
every day.
accessible. Because you got the leg through one armhole, the leg through the other arm, and you got the head hole here, dude. That's perfect.
A waste disposal port.
It's beautiful.
All right.
Inspired.
Now wearing pants as a shirt is a lot more difficult.
And way more socially unacceptable.
Just make it a jacket.
We're still wearing shirts as shirts. Shirts as shirts. Shirts as pants. No more underwear. Next week on the Player 3 podcast. Bye.
Luke Croft, 2016.
2017. It will be the year of wearing shirts as pants. We'll declare it now.
No, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that. Let's hold off. We may have a better idea.
Okay. Tentatively, 2017, year of wearing shirts as pants. If you want to get a jump start on it now, and you live in Australia where it's basically 2017 already, because I think that's how hemispheres work, you can go ahead and begin. We'll give it another 7 months. All right. Larry, your topic. I don't like saying Zopic. That defeats the purpose of
You're
the
not
joke.
supposed to pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's
Ben
topic.
does that.
It's topics with an X.
We need to have a sit down.
We'll have a
Ben.
sit down.
Maybe write them up. How many write-ups before you get fired from Player 3 Podcast?
No,
How many weeks straight of not getting written up does your salary double?
every week, as far as I'm just doing the math.
Every
Yeah.
week doubles.
0 and then nothing and then every
Big
week.
old zilch. That's what we're up to right now. All right, Larry,
It's a good opportunity.
talk to us. What do we have going on here?
All right, so I read an article from digitalspy.com, and they were talking about Elder Scrolls 6 and a lot of speculation in it about release date and what it's going to be about. Some people are speculating that it'll be in Argonia, so where the lizard people are from.
Okay.
Yes.
I never
With the Overlord, Ted Cruz.
I never played as the Argonians.
Me
never
neither.
Really interested me. I didn't even play as a Khajiit.
But I'm interested in going to their land as a Nord and proclaiming that Argonia also belongs to the Nords.
It belongs to the Nords. We got it.
Yeah. I fought the first dragon in Skyrim, then the next plot of what I needed to do, like the next point showed up on the other side of a mountain that I couldn't scale, and I was like, all right, trading this game in. If they end up remastering it, I feel like they'll probably announce at E3, I will play through Skyrim. But I was like, look, I don't have a car, and I wasn't able to ride the dragon because I just killed it. And you can't ride dead things.
You consumed its soul. It should have gave you the ability to fly.
So awful.
I forgot to write this guy's first name or what he does, but Hines,
The ketchup maker.
no Hines,
First name 57.
works for Bethesda. It's company that makes Skyrim. What's wrong with us today?
I have no clue.
I have problems.
I'm okay.
Anyway,
I'm looking at
So-
that for you. I got you.
thanks. In regards to how other companies might handle a franchise such as The Elder Scrolls, he said, quote, they'd be spitting out a Skyrim 2 the year after or 2 years later. That's just not how we view it.
Oh.
We make sure everything we do is noteworthy. Our approach to that hasn't deferred. End quote.
It's Pete Hines.
Pete.
Their vice president. Yeah. I was thinking Heinz,
Right.
like the ketchup.
Right.
And you were thinking that too, clearly, because you love ketchup.
What my brain is.
I prefer Hunt's ketchup because I make it
Get out.
personally.
Get out. Because you've never tasted anything in your life.
I have. It's better than that ketchup that it says fancy ketchup on the label, but it's not. It's just
Like the
in there.
McDonald's fancy ketchup?
You know what makes it
That's pretty
fancy?
good.
It's got sugar in it. They put sugar in it. That's what makes it
I
fancy.
can put sugar in my ketchup. Anyway, I just want to go back to what we're talking about real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Skyrim sold very well, and a lot of companies, they just like to crank a game out again and again and again. And I've always appreciated Bethesda's not rushing it. And so I had 2 questions attached to this that I didn't write down.
It's fine.
But
We'll spitball off the top of our heads here.
Well, this isn't a question. This is just going to be a statement. Clearly this contributes to the quality of these games. Because they take time to craft them and make these big worlds. And you can take into consideration that it's a different type of game. Like Call of Duty doesn't need the attention to detail that a Skyrim needs. But at the same time, do you think that those games that rush a game out every year, even if they're dividing it among studios, sacrifice something of quality to make that happen? Does the deadline hurt or help in the long run?
This is a really good opportunity for us to just go to another story that we had here. So
Fine.
You
don't like my story?
Because it relates.
I'm
So following the failure of Street Fighter V, Capcom came out and kind of talked about this whole idea. So they promised to focus on the completion of games. And let me open up this article. I didn't expect to go here right now, but I didn't realize how well this fits here. Because what we have to understand is the scheduling stuff is happening most of the time from the publisher front, not the developer front. So you guys are developing a game. I'm bankrolling it as a publisher, and I'm like, we need this by then. And you come to me, and you're like, we need another month. I'm like, I don't care. We have this date. And there's going to be kind of a theme that just moves throughout this episode with that sort of stuff. But because we'll talk about Titanfall too here in a minute. But anyway, so this is over at GameSpot. Our boy Eddie. Following Capcom's recent acknowledgement that Street Fighter V had a, quote, lack of content and needed more polish, end quote, the company outlined a plan to work on games longer to ensure they are ready for launch. Now CEO Kenzo Sugimoto has shed more light on this process. So he says, quote, for games to be hits at the global level, they must be high quality. To this end, as a result of judging it necessary to spend a little more time on the development and operation of titles that are not yet up to that standard, we have revised the development periods for a small number of titles. Rather than absolutely holding to sales periods or development deadlines in the pursuit of quality that wholly satisfies our users, we will carry out development that prioritizes completeness, even if it requires some scheduling adjustments. End quote. So, here's where this gets sticky. You have a public company. You have any company that has investors. Let's say I'm the company, and we talk a lot about investor calls here and like investor meetings. And I think sometimes we try to visualize like, okay, an investor's call is, 6 people on a phone call and I'm bouncing ideas and like we're just kind of workshopping stuff. But that's not how it works. Like on an investor call, you can have hundreds, thousands of people who are considered investors in your company that are privy to these phone calls. So really it's almost like a phone called in E3 presentation without all the flashy media and stuff where you're just kind of talking about the plans for the future. What gets sticky here is, let's say I'm the leader of this company and I'm working on, let's just say I'm working on Street Fighter, and I say, or I'm publishing Street Fighter, and I come and I say on the investor call, like, this game is coming out Q4 of 2016. That means if I go and change that plan up and that isn't communicated to my investors can technically sue me because I've misled them as to what their investment is going towards. And so when we talk about game delays, it's way more of a process than just, well, Larry, you need 2 more weeks. That's cool. Because if you start getting pushed out of a window that isn't the window that A, you've agreed to with your publisher, and B, you've communicated with your investors, you're looking at a contractual thing with your publisher, and you're looking at just a straight legal thing with, which I guess a contractual thing's a legal thing too, but a legal thing with your investors if it gets pushed out of an area where it was supposed to go. And so it requires some agility to be able to move these games around. We always talk about how a delay is a good thing. And so I think it's about publishers understanding from developers, like, before we even talk about when this game is going to release, let's let you guys work on it and kind of get your hands around it. Whereas I think earlier and earlier now, investors are starting to say, like, we need to know future plans, like what's coming in the next year, what's coming in a year and a half, what's coming in 2 years. And Bethesda's earned the trust of their investors probably to be able to say, let's hold off on when we're going to do this so that we know we can really kind of have this mapped out how we want it to be mapped out.
That was very educational.
I'm smart. I read good.
I know many words. I know the best words.
And literally the longest word in that sentence is best. But yeah, so that's my answer to your question.
I think my understanding of it is a little bit different. Like when I think of deadlines, I think of more of how they're set to be strategic. So like with your Call of Duty or with whatever, they set these deadlines to release at a specific time because there are games that are competition to them. There are similar style games that are very popular, and they kind of got to get the leg up. Now with Elder Scroll games, they really don't have competition. They're like top of their game, and also they have such a lore. They're the D&D of video games. So I think they are able to buy themselves more time to make the game more immersive and more amazing, because what do they have to worry about in sales?
True.
So I think it's just two camps. Like, the storyline and, side missions and the lore and all this stuff, all the love that's poured into Elder Scroll games, you don't really need that in a shooter game. I mean, it'd be cool if there was, but it's just not there. So I think, yes, deadlines do potentially hurt, but I don't see Elder Scrolls being in that category. I think they're able to buy the time they need because we know the quality of game we're going to get, and it's going to be amazing. Because it's not just a game; it's a universe. It has history. It has all these rules that are just like they. I don't know any other game that has that kind of depth. I mean, the only other thing that I think has that depth is going to be Star Wars universe, and they just do it well.
Well, and Skyrim and Fallout have the advantage of the company that's developing it is also the company that's publishing it, and so there's not like there's better communication as far as like what goes on, like what's needed to make a complete product, whereas like so many other studios are working under a parent publisher or something like that, and there may be some disconnect in that. Deadlines exist, I mean, in everything. Like the gaming world would come to a screeching halt if there wasn't deadlines that we had to meet. But it's when it's about who's setting those deadlines. Are the developers setting the deadlines, or are the publishers, or the investors, or the suits that have no idea what goes into game development the ones that are setting the deadlines? And then as far as like revealing it, that's all about like managing hype and and I think what companies are learning is, man, people get really excited about a game if we say, here's our announcement of it, and you can play it in 7 months, in 8 months. And they also understand that if they're doing that 7 to 8 months before release, that game's getting polished at that, like almost near getting polished at least. Like we kind of have a trajectory of it, and so we don't have a Watch Dogs or a Destiny situation where it's like it's coming now. Oh wait, we gotta wait. It's coming out now. Now it's and keep pushing it back.
I think of No Man's Sky with that. Like I remember the first time we heard about that, just how pumped you guys were. And like, there's still a level of excitement, but it's not what it was. It's
a hesitant, like it's a walking on thin ice kind of deal because I'm tempering my expectations because the reason that game's been getting delayed is because the scope of the game has gotten grander and grander and grander.
But I would rather have these setbacks than to be super excited to have it in my hands and it just be broken.
Yeah, like Street Fighter, where it not only was it broken, but it was also lacking in modes and all of that sort of stuff, because that's what deadlines of people who don't make games get you.
And I think what you're saying though is the setbacks are fine, but it's you need to wait to announce until you're very close to being able to put it out.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, this is unrelated. I mean, it's semi-related, but that to me is the problem with a Kickstarter campaign. You know, you're hyping a game that's in the early stages or not even starting to be developed because it's just, a concept.
A lot can go wrong.
And I mean, you have a Mighty Number 9 situation where it's like people were really excited about this game and it's been delayed 4 different times and finally got a release date in June that we're not necessarily positive. I mean, people are not optimistic about it, but I mean, they're cautiously optimistic that that's going to actually happen. But like Kickstarters can't manage that, because they have to announce the game so early. And but I'm glad to see these big publishers starting to learn, like maybe it's not in our best interest to hype something 2.5 years out, to get somebody to pre-order something based off of concept art,
Yeah.
So. You had a second question? No, you had a statement.
It was good. We're good.
We good. All right, moving on to my topic here. Titanfall 2. Now, there's been an update since here, and this is partly where I learned a lot of this investor stuff, is in the reading of this. So, earlier in the week, there was some rumors that Titanfall 2's release date may have leaked and that it may be releasing August 30th, but they told their investors that was coming Q3 of 2016, and EA's third quarter is October, November, December. So, probably so the August 30th probably most definitely isn't going to happen because of all of the stuff we just talked about. But it does have me thinking, because October, November, December, you're going to have Call of Duty. You're probably going to have either a second season of Battlefront or maybe a sequel to Battlefront. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. You're going to have Battlefield 1. You're going to have these major shooters that are coming out. Like, even if Battlefront doesn't get a sequel at that point, there's still going to be new content coming out. We're probably going to get Rogue One content coming for it. So my question to you is, like, we're all well. Me and you are Titanfall fans. You never played it, right?
I'm going to jump on board. The reason why I never played the first one is because I was never really into multiplayer, but I'm getting there, so I'm going to get this one at least.
So my question to you is like, let's take ourselves out of the equation and our own personal feelings about Titanfall because we're excited about it. I think we're all cautiously excited about it because we don't know a whole lot about it.
I have zero caution. Caution is to the wind. I love Titanfall.
How do you think it fits into that October, November, December kind of time frame though, with these other major shooters coming out?
I would argue that it's earned its right to be there. For what it was, it did really well. And I get that people got bored and dropped out eventually, but I think people do the same thing with COD. The difference is there's a new COD coming next year, so they'll jump right back in, but it's another game. So I think it'll do fine there. As far as competing with Battlefront, I don't think Battlefront will be an issue. I get there are problems there because EA is involved in both, right?
Yeah.
So they'll I think they'd be more wise to keep Battlefront away from Titanfall than to keep Titanfall away from Battlefront. Because
talking Battlefront or Battlefield?
Star Wars Battlefront.
Okay.
Because I just the level of excitement for that game I think is just not there unless they're going to bring some massive improvement with some of these updates, and I don't see that happening. So I think Titanfall fit in just fine there. Yeah, and it's going to be multi-platform this time around, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it'll do well. I don't foresee it having any major struggles.
See, I foresee it having many major struggles. I think it was strategic of EA to say we're going to go back to World War I. That way we don't have, one future, one like now, like modern or near future kind of deal with Battlefield, and then Battlefront stuff coming, which is in the future, and then Titanfall stuff, which is in the future, all competing against one another. So like now you've got these three things that are coming. But
technically, Battlefront is a long time ago in the galaxy far, far away.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. But for us, the technology is futuristic. So, but with the way that Call of Duty is going, and I know that you talked about people picking it up and then just dropping out, but that's not really the case. Like the player base of Call of Duty, there are people who that is the only game that they play. Mm-hmm. And they play it from the time it releases to the time the next one comes out. Like there's a ravenous fan base for this that we just aren't attached to because we like to play so much different stuff. But like I would venture to say there are more people playing Call of Duty Black Ops 3 right now than there ever was playing Titanfall at one time.
But for those hardcore dedicated fans, I don't think it's going to matter when you release Titanfall. I don't think Titanfall is going to touch that audience because, like you said, like that's all they do. But
Titanfall is built around free running, high tempo gameplay, all that sort of stuff. And if you're going to release this game, all right, Call of Duty is November first Tuesday in November, I think. When's a good time to release it between October and December for Titanfall?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it make more sense to say we're going to release Titanfall in March, in February?
I don't know, because you have that holiday game. Like, so many people are trying to buy games for their kids and stuff in the holiday season. Like, do you just give that up to Call of Duty? Like, it's just always going to be the holiday game?
Yeah, because your mom walks into a store trying to buy a game. She sees Call of Duty and Titanfall sitting next to one another. What's she going to migrate towards?
My mom's smarter than the average parent, so
you get what I'm saying, though, right? Like,
I think parents should learn to read their kids' Christmas list. But you're right. You're right. You're right. Just the name recognition. Well, because my mom still thinks I'm playing a Nintendo.
and I see the I see the clientele that comes in and plays Call of Duty,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they're the younger crowd, and so because of that reason, like those parents are already conditioned. They know their kids play Call of Duty, so they're going to come in, Titanfall, Call of Duty on the shelf next to one another. We're going to play Call of Duty. Let's let Call of Duty die off, like have some of those people that fall off, and then release a game in February or March and say, all right, you guys enjoyed the new Call of Duty, but you had your fun with it. Here's Titanfall. Kind of same premise, but you get these giant mechs as well. And then, like, I just don't think Titanfall would be a strong holiday game next to the name recognition of Call of Duty. And I mean, and honestly, the name recognition of Battlefield and the name recognition of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, those are three things that at least two of those three things, anyone who's even casually connected to a gamer knows what those things are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may not know what Battlefield is, but they're going to know what Call of Duty is, and they know what Star Wars is. So
Yeah.
Titanfall's got to overcome four different things, two, maybe three different things that people have heard of before it's right on the psyche. So I feel like it's either going to have to be like first Tuesday in October, we're launching this thing, or let's push this thing back to February.
You convinced me.
So
They originally released in March, the first one, I
Yeah.
think. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what led to this decision.
yeah.
And this is still speculative, right? Like, they haven't announced that.
Well,
date.
they've told their investors
Okay.
Q3 of this year. Now that can change. I mean,
Yeah.
things have been delayed before, but it's almost like, let's just get out of the way. I mean, think about Tomb Raider going up against Fallout. A game that Crystal Dynamics was like, well, they're not going to cannibalize one another. But the fact of the matter is, $60 will cannibalize $60. Like, if I have $60, I can't buy Fallout and Tomb Raider. Like,
Yeah.
even if they're not in the same genre. Now you got 2 games in the same genre coming out. 3 games in the same genre coming out. One that's probably going to be getting, a new stream of content coming out for it that's going to be highly marketed. They're going to cannibalize one another, I would think. And like, Tomb Raider suffered greatly from releasing on the same day as Fallout. Would it have benefited from 2 or 3 weeks later or earlier? Maybe. But how'd Rainbow Six Siege do?
Yeah, I think there's more to consider with Rainbow Six, but yeah, you're right. Just the game itself, I think, had flaws that contributed to its problems.
Yeah. Well, the beta wasn't strong. The game when the game finally launched, it was fine, but I mean, the beta wasn't strong. But it was only going up in terms of first-person shooters against Call of Duty. Battlefield released in February. There was no Titanfall that came out, that year. So way less to compete against, and it still couldn't find a foothold in the market. Whereas now, like, I just think Titanfall would benefit. What do you think, Diz? You've been mighty quiet over there.
Mighty number quiet.
Well, it's difficult for me to have a major opinion because I haven't played the Titanfall. I don't know how big the following was. I don't know how competitive an area it was. I'm really not sure about it. But if I were just to say just any game in general facing off against Call of Duty, that's a major gamble. Mm-hmm. That's all I really know. That's a big gamble.
And you're competing not only against Infinite Warfare, but against Modern Warfare as well.
Oh yeah, that I forgot all about that.
So yet another one.
Because I think there are a lot of people disappointed in Infinite Warfare or whatever, but I think the number of people disappointed by that are going to be reeled back in by Modern Warfare.
Yeah, and let's be honest. My brother's calling me. Decline. I hate that goes to my iPad. I should probably turn that off. Anyway, let's be totally honest here, and you may disagree with me with this, but what's the last Call of Duty you played?
Black Ops 1.
The first Black. Okay, so the mechanics of Call of Duty are far superior than the mechanics of Titanfall. Everyone wants to crap all over when IGN gives Call of Duty a 9 point whatever, because it's not what they want it to be. But if we're just judging these things based on themselves as games, there is nobody that does a first-person shooter better than Call of Duty.
Have things changed since Black Ops, or have you felt that way the whole time?
They've gotten better since Black Ops. I mean, I always felt really strongly about Call of Duty, but I played Black Ops 3, I played Advanced Warfare, and it's smooth. It feels like a shooter should feel. Set aside all of the wall running and all that, but just if we boil it down to a first-person shooter, it plays better than any first-person shooter on the market right now. And so with Titanfall being something that looks so close to what Call of Duty does, and I mean, we can get into the whole like Call of Duty being inspired by what Titanfall did, but that's beside the point. But if Call of Duty does it better than Titanfall does it, that's just another hurdle to have to overcome. And there's nothing about the original Titanfall and the latest Call of Duties that I've played that would suggest that Titanfall is going to somehow like crazily surpass Call of Duty in terms of gameplay.
I need to rent and play the new Call of Duty because I've always felt like their game mechanics were pretty terrible. Like, I've always had major complaints about how those games worked. Smooth is never a word I would use to describe it.
But I mean, like you said,
it's been almost a decade. No, it's been half a decade.
So you haven't played anything that's been like 60 frames per second, like.
So I will rent the next one and give it a chance to revise my Redbox.
Oh, sweet.
We should just get Seth to bring over his copy of Black Ops 3 sometime and play it. Because, I mean, I totally agree with all of the criticism with Call of Duty about the direction that they've taken their franchise. But I will never say that they're bad games,
I wouldn't say bad, but I definitely wouldn't have called any of them best first-person shooter available kind of stuff.
Best first-person shooter mechanic available.
That's what I mean.
So, yeah. Anyway, I just don't think Titanfall. I mean, Titanfall had fun gameplay, but I wouldn't have, like, Halo plays better than Titanfall did, right?
I don't know. You go back and pull the episode of this where I'm talking about Titanfall, and I loved the mechanic. In fact, I think I said it was a pretty perfect game as far as that went.
Do you think Destiny or Titanfall had a better shooter mechanic?
I think Destiny was better than Titanfall.
Okay.
But, yeah. This Halo I'm pretty impressed with, honestly. It's pretty rare that I have even lag issues, but set that aside, just the gameplay itself is pretty solid.
Right.
But, like we've been saying, I need to give the new ones a chance.
Yeah.
I did play Black Ops 2 once.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's still pretty far back.
Yeah. But yeah, Black Ops or Advanced Warfare, I would charge you to just try it out and like look past all this isn't Call of Duty and just look at it as a first person shooter. Yeah. And I think you'll be impressed. Like, they do a really good job.
Okay.
So.
And I remember Seth talking about how impressed he was with how smooth the one that was a knockoff of Titanfall.
Yeah, Advanced Warfare.
Yeah. I remember him talking now about just how great the mechanic was. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
All right. Diz.
What's up?
Your topic, my friend. Do you need this article open?
Yeah, sure. All right. So this is a topic that we've...
Stupid Forbes.
We've talked about a few times. So if you're like, oh, this again, I apologize, but it's still an important topic because there's the video game culture is still very split about it, and it's again about the pricing of games. There is a article on Forbes written by Eric Kane, who was talking about how Overwatch is overpriced. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, geez, beating a dead horse again. They just don't get how the industry works on that stuff. But the more I read, there is a glimmer of a point in there, though, that I think makes sense. And they're throwing around the word MOBA. And technically, within its inception of MOBA, it had been free to play or incredibly cheap. Like with Team Fortress 2, it was like $20, or you bought it with the Orange Box. And League of Legends, free to play. Dota 2, I think, was either free or very cheap. And when you keep it all in the same category, yeah, you expected. It's fine to have expected this kind of game, a MOBA, to be cheaper than $60. But with that aside, what do you guys think? Like, I know we all really enjoyed Overwatch. So does the fact that it's $60 bother you, or does the fact that it's a MOBA and it's coming from a string of all these other very cheap or free games and then hiking it up to $60? Does that make sense? Any ideas about this?
There's a sentence in this article that I want to read to invalidate the rest of it. All right?
Go for it.
He says, quote, "Unfortunately, all there is to do in that world is shoot at one another, and that's a massive shame. End quote. If you played the beta for Overwatch and feel like the only thing that you do is shoot at one another, you miss the point of Overwatch.
And you probably really let your team down.
Yeah. It's about objective. It's about team composition. Do I agree with some of the sentiment of this argument? Absolutely. Like I told you when we reviewed the Overwatch beta, I would not have paid $60 for it. But I'm not going to step back from anything and call it overpriced. Larry.
Talk to me.
You're not a baseball fan, right?
Is loathing the same thing as being a fan?
So if I would say, hey, Larry, you can buy MLB season ticket for $120 where you can watch every out-of-market Major League Baseball game, $120 for the year. How would you say that's priced?
It's cheaper to drive my car into an ocean and probably more enjoyable.
Oh, my gosh. Like, value is such a subjective thing. Like, to step back and, like, this article tries to do, just, like, say objectively that something is overpriced is just beyond asinine to me because Larry loves this stuff. Like, Larry loves this game, and Larry's the kind of guy who will play the same 6 maps, the same game mode for 9 months in a row.
Looking at you, Halo.
Like, I'm sorry, the same 2 maps. So for a guy like Larry, who's going to get his time's worth out of this thing, $60 is probably underpriced for the amount of time he's going to spend playing this game. For a guy like me, who likes to play a whole lot of different stuff, who doesn't really enjoy the idea of coming in for days and days on end, for weeks and weeks on end, playing the same exact thing, is $60 overpriced for me? Yeah. But I'm not going to write an article that lock, stock, cash it in, Overwatch equals overpriced. Like that, the title of this article is Overwatch is overpriced. And that's just an objective way of saying something that's incredibly subjective.
My issue with this guy's stance, I think it's worth $60, but basically he's saying because it doesn't have this deep storyline, this story element, and he even argues this game should have a campaign. Like, what does an Overwatch campaign look like? That sounds like just
you play 20 minutes as each character.
Yeah, it sounds like a very crappy experience to me. So that would not add value to the game at all. But my second thing there is like, so he's arguing that it should be less because it doesn't have a story mode. Well, what about a game that is a story but doesn't have a multiplayer mode? Should we bump it down in price too? What about something like Skyrim that you could easily dump a couple hundred hours into? Do we need to up the price? Because you're getting way more game for your buck there. Like, so if you try to even move it into the realm of not subjective, like objective, that's the word I'm trying to think of objective value. Like, how do you measure it? Do you measure it in hours? Do you measure it in components included in a game? Destiny has story and multiplayer. And like, do we need to bump it? I don't know. Just, yeah, I guess I'm going to go with you here. It's so subjective. And I've been that guy before who's like, yeah, this game doesn't have such and such. It needs to go down in price. I feel this way about story games. It sounds like I'm the opposite of this guy. If a game just has a single player story mode, I'm like, I'm not dropping $60 on that. But there are people who will because that's what they care about.
Yeah, and I think that's always my biggest pet peeve whenever this conversation comes up is we always talk about the games becoming cheaper. We never, like, apparently $60 is the ceiling for a game, and if you go over that, the entire world implodes and you won't sell a single copy of your game. So $60 is for the best, most content-packed games that you can think of, and then it's all down from there. Like, no one's ever written an article. I mean, I'm sure they have, but like rarely do you see an article that's like, Skyrim is underpriced. You should pay $120 for it because you're going to play it for at least 300 hours walking around this mountain after you kill this dragon. So I get incredibly frustrated by that idea. And just this whole idea that like you determine the value of a game based on when you buy it. Like for someone who highly values the experience of Overwatch and pays $60 on release, okay, that's its value to them. If you're going to wait for Overwatch to be $29.99 on a fire sale on the Xbox One marketplace or whatever like that. $30 was the value to you. No one's putting a gun to your head saying you got to buy this game at launch for the prices. Wait till it comes down to the price that you think it's worth it for, and then you know what? You're going to get that price of a product because the player base for a game like this is probably going to be smaller by the time it's $30 in a bargain bin somewhere.
It's kind of an entitled viewpoint. Like, I want this experience, but I don't want to pay for it. Yeah, and for me, like, ever since we got that beta, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, I can't wait till this game comes out. If they wanted me to kill a man to get this game, I'm not saying I would, but I'm not saying I wouldn't.
The part that he really lost me was near the end. He said jumping into a free-to-play MP shooter or dropping $20 on the game, or $19.99, I gotta say it exactly what it is, $19.99 on the game, is a much easier pill to swallow than spending $60. That's what I believe we see more of, actually, as shooters went online only. Cheaper games with more reliance on in-game purchases for XP boosts and skins. I think there's a stronger pushback for these purchases of in-game boosts and in-game items versus a $60 game itself. So he's saying that the games need to be cheaper and that the people will flock more to in-game purchases of XP boosts and such. And I've talked to many people who don't like that at all.
Yeah, you want this game to be dead on arrival on console? Call it free-to-play. You know? Like tell them they can play it for free. Like, give them that beta. Let them play with the 21 characters. Let them download it for free. Have access to 4, and you got to pay $3 for every character you want to unlock. Like, that's how you kill this game. Mm-hmm. Free-to-play is a dirty word on consoles right now. Like, nobody wants that experience because I want to be able to pay $60 for something and know I have everything that I need for this thing. Like, I'm not having to shell out money every turn of the hand for something that I want to do, for play tokens or for characters that I want to use. Like, and what is this, like, just pulling a number out of your butt and putting it on a game? Like, $20. And then Blizzard's like, you know what? This guy's so right. You can have it for $20. We'll sell it for $60. Like what's the matrix we're using here? Like what are we lining up and putting our finger on and being like, oh yeah, it's got this, doesn't have that, it has this. Like, what's the rubric?
Larry and I, we have a lot of experience in Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the hardest things to do is to gauge what's called the CR, how difficult the enemies are versus how strong the players are. And that's something that people aren't noticing about Overwatch. They're saying, oh, it's just a shooter where you shoot each other. No, so much work had to be involved in balancing these characters and making it work, making it fun, making it to where you're not just constantly aggravated. So it's not like they just made up characters and said, oh, shoot each other. It's a work of art to make it to where it's playable, that it makes sense.
How many characters were there?
21.
21? Yeah. And no two of them play the same.
No.
They're all totally different. And you're right, it's balanced. Like, there's not a point where I feel like, well, if everyone just plays this character, we're going to win because they're overpowered. Like, they all have their strengths and their weaknesses, and there's a great element of strategy to this game. And I don't know how much of the beta this guy actually played. The more he talks.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick up any Call of Duty game. I want you to play through the story. Let the credits roll. I want you to go back. I want you to play through it again. Spend 12 hours, 2 6-hour playthroughs on the campaign, and tell me how different the second time is around. And it's not going to be. You know? With a multiplayer game, at least, every time you log on, it's going to be different. Like, every match is different, especially in a game like this where there's 21 different characters, so I can't even begin to do the math of how many different combinations of characters can be playing against one another. And, like, so there's endless possibilities, all this thing. I want to read, you kind of stopped a little short on the quote, because the last sentence, you said the word entitled. He said, I'm just going to read the last paragraph again. Quote, that's what I believed we'd see more of, actually, as shooters went online. Cheaper games with more reliance on in-game purchases for XP boosts and skins. Whales would carry the rest of us on their back, and the more casual players would simply have to show up. End quote. So here's what he's saying. He's saying, Larry, you're really into this game. You want everything in this game? You pay $148, and I'm going to pay jack crap over here. I'll pay $3 for the one character that I want to play as. Like, how entitled of an idea is that? Like, all right, you really like this game. You should pay a whole lot more for it. But then, all right, this guy probably loves Skyrim, and I'm like, look, man, I just want to play like the first mission, so I'll pay $4 till I kill that dragon and have to walk around that mountain. You pay $200 for the 300 hours you're going to spend on it. Like, what universe does that make sense? Like, I'm getting indignant about this. I'm very upset. Like, why should I pay more for a work like? I'm all disheveled now.
I mean, that's the whole thing. I want to play this game, but I don't want to pay for it. That's more or less what he's saying.
Like, dude, wait for it to go on a bargain bin or be a Games with Gold or wait for a Steam sale or just go and throw all your consoles in a river somewhere and delete all of your ability to write. Call Forbes, say, I'm not writing for you anymore if I can't write anything better than this piece of hot garbage that I published for you. Seriously. Like, it's okay to have an opinion, but it should be a good one if you're going to share it with people. Anything else?
I don't believe there's anything else that can be said.
All right.
Well, I mean, let's backtrack a little bit. Would this game, though, attract the older MOBA players, like the League of Legends players, the Dota players, the Team Fortress players, and will it be kind of an injustice of like, oh, this was what we got to play for free, we got to have a blast, and now we have to shell out $60 for it? I mean, is that an issue to them?
But it's not like Blizzard's like, hey, download this game, play it for a month, and then we'll bill you. You know, like they know up front what the game's going to cost. That, like, going into the beta, you knew it was a $60 game, so you knew going in, like, if I get attached to this and I want to play it outside of the weekend that the beta's open, I'm going to have to pay $60 for it. Like, that's just a communication thing, I feel like, that they were aware of.
I think even some of those players will think through, like, not Team Fortress, but, like, League of Legends, the cost of unlocking 20 characters. I don't know what it was, but I feel like it would not be too far off from the price tag of this game. I think you could do it with in-game currency eventually, though. It's been so long since I played that game. So never mind. Just disregard everything I just said. But
we'll just make a real long beep over what you said.
Okay.
And people will be like, what did he say?
It was super offensive. I don't know. I think there will be some that are turned off to it for that reason. But I also think that I don't know that Blizzard was necessarily trying to capture the Team Fortress players or the League of Legends players so much as just
make it more accessible to the console people.
Yeah, that's how it strikes me. But I'm also not Blizzard, so disregard everything.
It's still two different worlds: the PC people and the console people.
Yeah.
Well, they had 9.5 million people play the beta, so.
And I've seen several posts today of PC friends and console friends who are picking this game up. So.
Yeah.
And there were people who missed it so much they were going on other games and role playing as if they were playing Overwatch.
How?
Like, they would just like create custom matches and they'd have roles and like they'd practice plays and stuff.
Wow, impressive.
Like, this game's gonna do well and it's worth like anytime I say that I don't think a game's worth $60, I'm saying for me, you know, like the game may be worth $60 for somebody else.
Would you definitively say the Order 1886?
My thing is, if a company is going to charge, like, this is very libertarian of me, but if a company wants to charge $60 and there's people that want to buy it for $60 like I did, more power to you, man. Do I think I got $60 worth of game out of the Order? Not really. But did I pay for it? Yeah. So is that on the developer? Maybe a little. Oh, all right. That's it for the topics. Let's move on to the news. News with the podcast guys. All right, first item on the list is Destiny's next expansion is reportedly titled Rise of Iron. This is according to a leaked poster that was then confirmed by multiple sources by
cool.
Jason Schreier on Kotaku.
Wolves and an axe?
Yeah, dude. It says, quote, Destiny's next expansion is called Rise of Iron, according to leaked marketing materials that popped up on Reddit last night. The expansion, which is expected in September, should be officially revealed at E3. Two sources familiar with Bungie confirmed the authenticity of this poster to Kotaku last night. The Rise of Iron expansion will feature a new raid and will be larger than the 2 Year 1 DLC packs, according to a source. Of course, as the Taken King showed us, the amount and scale of content in a Destiny expansion can vary widely, and it may not be fair to compare this to previous DLC. It's not clear how this expansion is related to Destiny's regular Iron Banner PvP event, but that appears to be Iron Banner Maestro Lord Saladin brandishing a hammer or axe in the poster, end quote. So this is going to have a raid, it's going to have new story content, it's going to have new weapons, it's going to have all these new things, and all the Destiny people who had no idea what was happening with this game can rest easy knowing that Bungie is working hard at night, working on a new expansion. And so my question isn't necessarily about the expansion in and of itself, but as people who spent time with Destiny, as Larry and I did. You didn't play Destiny because you don't like multiplayer. As people who spent time with Destiny, you and I, who enjoyed our time with Destiny for some part of it,
Pieces.
who would agree it's one of the top 3 best first-person shooter mechanics on the current-gen consoles.
Yes,
and
yes.
who would love nothing more than for Bungie to do this and do it right by us. Which some would argue they have at this point, but we would argue having to pay $240 for a good game is not doing right by us. But who are we to say? We have voted with our wallets. I did not buy the Taken King.
It was gifted to me, so it's still there was money spent.
My question, but you didn't hit somebody up for it.
No.
All right, my question to you though is, and my question to you, Diz, because this can relate to you as somebody who didn't play it. What does Destiny have to do to light a fire and motivate you for Destiny 2?
For me, I just don't think they can. I think it's become abundantly clear how they're going to handle this game from here on out. It's just, I just dropped too much time and money into it already to not be satisfied, and it would, I can't come up with something that would pull me back into it. At the end of the day, it just wasn't my kind of game. It wasn't the game I expected it to be, and maybe my expectations were too high, but I think they presented their game a little too high. And instead of owning up to that, they kept trying to make excuses and promises that weren't kept, and I just don't want any part of it. It's cool if you guys like it, but I'm not going to be getting back into Destiny. Thanks for Halo, Bungie. I'm going to stay over there.
This is going to sound kind of weird, but for me to play Destiny 2, it's going to require Larry to like it for me, because I've never played the game. And when I think of a Halo game or a Halo-esque game, this is the guy I go to. And if he's like, nah, this rubbed me the wrong way, I'm going to go with it. So I'm not really just going to jump into Destiny 2 thinking it's going to be amazing, because I got a bad taste in my mouth. I've never even played it.
Let me ask you some questions.
Hold on, wait.
Go ahead.
I do want to say it's not really a Halo-esque game. So
It looks the same to me, though.
But
armor-wise,
play-wise, it's very different.
It's very different.
And before I know you're about to take the conversation in a different direction.
Okay.
Someone I follow on Twitter, Jenny Barrage.
Yeah,
the
Julie
whole-
Borowski.
Yeah, those are the same people. She tweeted yesterday, "Hey, I know I'm late to the party, but holy crap, Destiny's story was awful. I didn't realize it was over."
Yeah, it was bad. Let me ask you a question, Diz.
what's up?
You like space?
Oh, I love space, man.
You like guns?
I
You like
mean-
guns?
I mean, I've shot a gun a few times.
You like video game guns?
I like video game bows and arrows more, but yes, I like guns.
Oh, they got bows and arrows too.
Woo!
Diz, you like customization?
I do.
You like unlocking stuff?
I do.
You like taking some quests on and seeing what you get at the end of them, like you did in Borderlands?
But does the story make sense?
Huh? I mean,
Now it does.
it does now. It really does now. Yeah. My thing is, I think you would like Destiny.
Okay.
Like, because you were willing to do like the Borderlands stuff co-op, like and you'd rather do that stuff. Like, so much of what makes Destiny really good is having a squad of people to go in and do it with, and to an extent, like the night that I spent, the night of launch that I spent with Ben and Seth, just like going through the story. Us having that experience together and being able to chat in, it kind of covered over a multitude of sins with the story. Not to the point where I'm like, it's forgivable, but it covered up a lot of it to where I look back on my time with Destiny with some fondness because, I mean, it just got me and a group of friends together for something really fun to do. And for a game that played really, really well. So for me, with Destiny 2, all it's really going to take, well, a few things. Number one is some honesty about what I'm going to be getting. The main thing, though, is, and we're absolutely going to get this, is them abandoning the Xbox 360 and PS3. What we tend to forget when we talk about Destiny is how I think what originally happened is Bungie thought that they were going to be able to develop this game simply for the next-gen hardware, and Activision came in and was like, if we want to maximize sales, we got to get this on 360 and the PS3. And so where it was supposed to be these sprawling kind of open worlds, they had to really compartmentalize it so that the older consoles could handle it. So I think the scope of the game is going to be way, 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 way bigger in Destiny 2, simply because of just the technological limitations of the last-gen consoles. So getting it off of those consoles, having a little bit of honesty about what this structure is going to look like, and I think now going in that I kind of have an idea, showing me that this won't be a launch purchase for me, I don't think. I'm gonna let some people get their hands on it first, but if a week or two goes by and it's like, man, they greatly improved the storytelling, they fixed a whole lot of the issues with like the loot grind and stuff. I mean, even before we stopped playing, they fixed a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Because in the beginning, it was just so like you could spend hours doing something that for just the chance at something. It's like when you eat the blazing wings at Buffalo Wild Wings, and they're like, "You won the opportunity to purchase this shirt." And it just felt a little cheap, but they fixed a lot of that stuff too. So just some honesty about what that structure is going to look like. I know the player base is going to be there, which is really important to me. Open it up, maybe some space stuff where like I can actually get in my ship and go rather than it's just a loading screen that I get to customize. Destiny can get me back, but they're going to have to learn from the errors of their ways. And everything I've heard from the Taken King is like, you get $40 worth of content in the Taken King. But my question was, do you get $100 worth of content between Destiny and the Taken King for myself, going back to the talk about value. So if they can show me like base game $60 will be worth $60 and then $40 expansion worth $40, I'd be fine with that. But I just need honesty is what I need. And that's going to mean me stepping back and probably just buying it used.
Yeah.
So that'll be my way of sticking it to the man on that one. Although I play all digital, so I probably won't do that. That's probably all a lie. I just Ben Hankins that whole train of thought.
Just for the near future, like the conceivable future, there are just so many other games that I'm interested in. We're not in this dry spot in the console generation now where there's not a whole lot to choose from. I cannot picture myself choosing Destiny over anything else right now.
Yeah. Well, no, and Destiny 2 probably isn't coming out till fall 2017. Probably be a September 20. When did it release in September, right? Or August?
I can't remember.
Let's look. I think it was September. I think it was September 10th, 2014.
Exactly 4 years after I proposed on top of a mountain at sunset.
Destiny release date. There we go. Let's see if I'm right. 9th, 2014. Dang it. All right. I closed my iPad like we were done. But we have one more news story.
Bye, guys.
Star Wars Battlefront didn't have a campaign because of The Force Awakens.
Huh?
That was my reaction to. Go ahead.
All right. This is from Twinfin, and it says, quote, during the EA Investor Day briefing, studio boss Patrick Soderlund said that the lack of single player was a, quote, conscious omission that they made because of time. DICE had to release the game side by side with film to get the strongest possible impact, end quote.
Okay.
Then why did they say earlier that didn't they make the argument that it just was hard to have a cohesive story through all these different battles?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if EA ever said that.
Okay.
I think that was always kind of just the justification of what it was supposed to be like. So
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't buy this. This just seems silly to me. I don't think this game needed a campaign, and I think EA didn't think that this game needed a campaign.
Yeah.
But it's a weird justification in my mind.
Yeah, obviously it needed multiplayer more than single player because not only, I mean, the player-based interest, but also the idea of road mapping, macro transactions of map packs and stuff like that and all that. And it's just a more viable system to build on if it's in multiplayer rather than just shelling out single-player DLC when you may play the single-player campaign, then be done with it in 10 hours, trade the game in or whatever. Like, this is at least incentivizes people to hold on to it. I don't buy it completely, but I do buy the idea that like it was a deadline, it was a time crunch, and it's like, do we want to have to QA test all these parts of the game, or do we want to get rid of something that we're not even sure is something that's really being asked for all that much? And then
It seems to me you would abandon the like weird 2-player single missions instead of campaign if it's just a time crunch. But what do I know? I guess you got to write a story out and stuff. That takes more time.
But this also shows their awareness for Battlefront 2 that people want a single player. And but I guess the question is like, what is a single? And I mean, it's the question we had before. But what is a single player campaign for Battlefront? Like,
Yeah.
you've seen the 3 movies, so do you just want to play through the 3 movies? I don't think that would be all that fun. Maybe it would for you.
No.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting little tidbit there.
Weird.
All right. We have reviews. Reviews for you.
Sounded so excited just then.
I am excited, Diz, because the first game I'd like to review is Homefront: The Revolution. I'm going to keep this short. Homefront: The Revolution. If you want to play this game, it'd be better for you currently to go out to your local dump, find whatever disc-shaped item you can. Maybe it's a Skrillex CD. Maybe perhaps it's a piece of bologna with the center bitten out from it. That was exactly where I was going.
No
next.
way!
Yeah, I was going bologna with the next one. Or perhaps it was just a highly mutilated cat that got ran over time and time again, and they didn't know to put it in like the organic waste disposal because it was that deformed. They were like, we can just put this in a garbage bag and be fine. Shove that into whatever console of your choice, and it's going to run almost as good as Homefront: The Revolution. Wow. This game is a hot, steaming pile of garbage. From story to gameplay to technologically being able to run it. My review in a word: hot, steaming pile of garbage. And the developer knew it was a hot, stinking pile of garbage because when you beat the freaking game, you get a the menu that's like, we'd like to thank everyone for sticking with us through the tumultuous development cycle that was this game. We think we released a viable product to the market, much like we think that a pack of hot dogs is a good form of protein. Can you eat it? Yeah. Does it run on your console? Yeah. Are you gonna enjoy it? Probably not. Thanks. And then they said the best part about it is it says, and there's more to come. And you're like, God, no. Then I played Uncharted, which was the.
Hold on. Wait. This was really sad to me. Not that you played Uncharted, but
Oh, yeah.
that Homefront sequel was so bad. I really enjoyed the first one, campaign-wise. The multiplayer was garbage, but I really enjoyed the campaign.
Can I just tell you how little sense it makes that North Korea took over this country? I mean, they explain it, and and you're like, maybe.
Yeah.
But, like, how many people are in North Korea?
Who aren't starving.
Yeah.
I always figured they were just trying to be like culturally sensitive because like it's basically Red Dawn.
Yeah,
but we don't want it to be China.
And didn't they change in the reboot of Red Dawn? Didn't they?
Yeah,
they made it North Korea, didn't they?
I believe so.
And you know why? Because you got to sell movies in China. You know, and you can't be like.
We also owe them a lot of money.
We do also, and we don't want to give them any ideas. They're like, maybe we can invade. Like, so the whole premise is kind of built on shaky ground anyway. What?
Sorry, I just pictured like them having like this really realistic American city and like Chinese spies like, yeah, this is pretty good intel.
Like they go in, they've got their popcorn and their large drink, and they sit down, and then they just all of a sudden have this moment of enlightenment, and they're like, "We have to call a secret council meeting."
Because the nation of China is led by a secret council.
I don't know how the government over there works. They got their fake money and all that stuff. I don't understand. What?
I don't know. Yeah. It's dumb. And like everyone hates North Korea, so it's just the easy choice. Way to take the easy way out.
You know what we got to start doing, man? We got to start and sorry to anyone who lives in these cities. But, you know, the world is too familiar with our actual main hubs of cities. So, like, Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles, like, these are the hubs of us. What we need to start doing is just creating fake international broadcasts about how important Jacksonville is, you know? That way, if ever this stuff goes down, it's like, they hit Jacksonville first. All right, they've showed their hand. They've taken out a city that, you know... Was it nice? Was it a good vacation spot? There's not a good NFL team down there. We can get away with this, you know?
Yeah.
Now we can start kind of circling the wagons around New York. You know what? Thank you, Homefront.
It's not bad.
For opening up our eyes. I played Uncharted 4. That game was not a hot steaming pile of garbage. It was lovely. Very cinematic. Great end to the game. You know the end of Psych? When it ended and we were like, man, this was nice. This is how we wanted Psych to end. Just kind of on these good notes. That's Uncharted. Uncharted all the way through is very aware that it is having you say goodbye. It's having you say goodbye to these characters that you've loved for years, that you've played multiple games with. So there's these real cool moments of nostalgia, like one time when Nate's up in his attic and you're going around and you're picking up all these artifacts that you've picked up in previous games. And he kind of retells the story of how he came across that thing and the characters he was with in it. So like you kind of take a literal walk down memory lane within it. They added some like new combat stuff to it that had always kind of been missing in Uncharted, which was mostly stealth oriented. Like you can go through entire segments of combat fully in stealth mode, which wasn't the case in previous Uncharted games where you would attack one enemy even silently and all of a sudden everyone knew where you were and started shooting at you. They added a rope swinging mechanic that is better than any Spider-Man game that's ever been released on any platform. And so, like, in a way, it took everything that was awesome about the original 3 Uncharteds and then said, we're going to add some stuff that'll just make the gameplay even better. A lot of inspiration, I would say, from Tomb Raider, and I don't just say that because they're both action-adventure kinds of games, but just the stealth mechanics and, like, at one point you have... It's not the axe. In Tomb Raider, you have an axe. What's the little, like, spike that you drive into the side of a wall? It starts with a P. I don't know what it's called, but...
Potato.
A potato. You're given a potato midway through the game that allows you to scale walls and stuff like that. So they just added a whole lot of different gameplay elements that really elevated the game to one of the more fun games to play. One of the biggest qualms I've always had with Uncharted, though, is that the combat just never really makes sense to me. Like, you're playing as this explorer who is in love with history, who super knowledgeable about history too, like just insanely knowledgeable, and they explain a lot of like why that is in this game, which is cool. But you're also just indiscriminately murdering hundreds of people throughout the course of these games so that you can just find the great treasure at the end of the game. And it's like, there was far less combat in this game than there were in the previous 3 games, and I appreciated that. But I almost would want even less combat than there was to begin with. Like, I understand that in order for something to be a game, there has to be that, like, conflict and combat that's happening within it. But it just stood in such stark contrast to just the moment that you experience for the 10, 12 hours you're playing this campaign. Like, it's just really... It's like the last week of school when you're in college and the finals are over, but nobody's gone home yet, so you just kind of hang out in the dorms together until everybody leaves. Like, we're saying goodbye, and we're not going to see each other again until next year, and we're having just a lot of fun. But then it's like if we were doing that and you stood up and you were like, "Hey, let's go murder everyone downstairs real quick." It just kind of takes you out of the joy of the moment.
Well, it depends on who you are.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you would enjoy that,
right?
But saying that, I don't think it takes anything away from the overall experience of the game. Does it stand out? Like, does it kind of stick out like a sore thumb at times? Yes, but it also is necessary to make it a game for a lot of people. Like, this game wouldn't have sold 2.5 million copies in its first week on the market if you just walked through stuff and climbed stuff and had conversations with people. But the pacing was really just allowed you to soak up that moment. So my review in a word for Uncharted, and I just didn't want to get too spoilery with it. My review in a word is just goodbye. Like, it's a nice, pleasant goodbye with a friend. A so long, if you will. So yeah, those are our reviews. Reviews for you. Dizzy,
What's up?
it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the random question of the week. A random question of the week for the month for this week.
I think we've tackled this before, and I have another one if we have.
Okay.
Because I think we talked about it during Halloween.
Yes.
Okay, well then I got a different one. All right, I don't know. Again, I don't know if we've talked about this because
What was the first one?
it's.
The scariest thing, most unexplainable thing that's happened to us.
Oh, okay.
But we've had 70-some episodes. It's very difficult for me to keep track. How we talked about if we were guaranteed that we couldn't die, what's the one crazy thing you would do? We talked about that.
No.
If you were guaranteed not to die, what is the craziest thing you want to do, actively want to do?
Does not die also include not experience pain? I'm not afraid of death. I'm terrified of pain.
Oh, that's a good question.
I already have my answer, but you continue. You can clarify for later.
Do you have a different answer if I say yes?
Yes.
Okay, then the first part is no. I want to hear this one, and I want to hear the other one as well. Is there another one?
Wait, so you want one with pain, one without pain?
I want to see what you're thinking.
Okay.
I want in that brain.
You go ahead.
I want to see that brain. All right, ask me the question again because I want to make sure that my answer fits.
Okay, if you were guaranteed to not die while doing this activity, what is the craziest thing you would do?
Okay,
that you
it
want to
works.
do.
I would eat 15,000 calories a day for the rest of my life.
Oh.
Just never die. Seriously, like, I don't want to jump off anything. I don't want to try to fight anything. I don't want to take a bullet to the brain and just know what it feels like before and not die from it. Like, I don't want any of that junk. Mm-hmm. Like, if I can just live a sentient lifestyle and not die from it, I'm cool. The only reason I get up to move is to get circulation to my feet.
Oh my goodness. The craziest thing I would want to do, and there might be a psychological issue for this, but I'd want to jump into a volcano. I want to see what it's like. Because it's just this rolling, liquidy looking stuff, but it's just molten hot rock. It's so weird to me. I want to feel that texture.
So this is without pain.
Yes, this is without pain. I would want to jump to a volcano and just see what it
But
feels
also
like.
none of the physical ramifications of it. So like your arms don't burn off. Free from pain. Okay.
And then
so you just get to pick it up and kind of feel
I
it.
just want to see what it is.
Is there really anything else to the textural experience of lava other than just like the sensation of your hands burning off?
There'd have to be if you couldn't feel the pain. Like, there'd have to be like some...
Liquidy rock, dude. It's weird. Would it feel like milky? I don't know.
513?
I would imagine somewhere between honey and marshmallows. Like melted marshmallows.
See,
I
I
don't
want
know.
to find out.
Let's do it anyway, man.
All right, no pain. I would just finally answer the call of the void, like when you're standing on the edge of something and want to just fall. Like I'd go for it.
Just feel the thrill.
If pain was involved,
That's what that's called. The call of the
I
void.
think so.
Call of
Maybe
the
I'm
void.
wrong.
I like it. Sounds cool.
Call of Duty, Call of the Void, 2017. It takes place in a free fall.
But otherwise, and probably ultimately anyway, like if I'm just guaranteed to not die, I'm just gonna go do the superhero thing, like go fight ISIS and save all the Boko Haram people and just fight bad guys for the rest of my life, which is forever. So
That'd be sweet.
I win.
I think it's called Is.
Is
The Call of the Void is the thought to jump off the ledge you are standing on.
Wow.
So does that phrase also like migrate over to the idea of like there's always something in our brain that wants to grab the wheel and like go across the yellow line, but there's also a much more prevalent survival instinct that keeps us on our side of the road? I'm like, I just want to know how it feels to be British and to get charged with manslaughter.
Driving is always terrifying to me because at any moment some person could just give into that urge and you're done. Like you don't do anything wrong. Some idiot is just like, you know what? I'm done. We trust each other so much.
It is an incredible amount of trust.
We don't think we do, but we do.
Just like every time you go in through a drive-thru and you talk into that box and you tell them what you want to eat and you expect them to not give you a deep-fried rat as you're eating in your dark car. But they do every time.
It's good. Beautiful answers, boys. Beautiful answers.
All right. Is that going to do it for us today? Oh, what?
I slept in a room with you in college for a whole semester. Like you could have just murdered me in my sleep at any time, but I trusted you not to.
Well, you know.
Well, you trusted the law to offer enough incentive to not do it. That's really all this comes down to. Yeah. Like without the law and without the threat of prison and without the threat of eating like unseasoned rice pilaf for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I fought the law today.
Yeah,
The law
today
won,
Diz
so.
fought the law, so the law's not a deterrent for Diz.
Yeah, Diz does what he wants, man. He's like, I'm not getting a freaking county sticker.
He's crazy.
Even though he did. He gave in to the man.
He's like, oh, now I got to go to court, pay a ticket. I guess I'll buy the sticker.
Diz, you know what it's all about? It's all
Sell
about getting
out.
a piece of computer paper and drawing a county sticker and then just taping it to your thing. And then
I was thinking, I'll just take a picture of someone else's printed off and just tape it in there.
Or just steal someone's. I mean, you don't care about the law.
Just lift their entire windshield out. You got to go find somebody else's Hyundai Elantra.
No. Just tape whatever windshield onto his windshield.
Just tape like just normal, just clear tape. That's all.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Like you've got this Hummer windshield taped to your Hyundai Elantra.
Just take your entire windshield out and then have Katie hold the two stickers up where they should be while you drive.
Sweet.
All right, let's get out of here. Let's go around the circle.
I'm Larry. You can find me on Twitter at LarryHuntsZombies. LARHUNTS Zombies.
I'm Diz. I don't do much, but I do have a Xbox thingy. It's an account. Granny Hand Grenade. It's misspelled, but it says Granny Hand Grenade.
I'm Luke. Find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch. Find us on youtube.com/player3podcast. Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Blueberry, Google Play. At your local nail salon. We are the Player 3 Podcast. Player 3 Podcast! P3P.